Morning. Good morning. How the devil are we all doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Caught me on the hop a little bit. I'm busily writing in the background. Hope we're all doing okay. Going to say a very quick good morning to the assembled masses, which includes Dan Cullen, Alex Latham, Gary Muirhead, Mark Whiting, Steve Williamson, and Ken Hatcher has just arrived. And Ken Hatcher apparently has his brolly up. It's Wales, is it? Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, another packed show for you today. Just to give you a very quick heads up, to get your brains in gear, our after show chat today is going to be on the subject of construction equipment design and whether you believe we've gone as far as we can. And I don't mean, obviously, machines are improving incrementally, but one of the first questions I ask in the article or the piece after the show is going to be, when was the last time you saw a piece of construction equipment and went, well, I've never seen one of those before? I don't mean a new manufacturer coming into a market. I don't mean an existing manufacturer diversifying over into another bit. I mean actually looking at a machine and thinking, well, bugger me, I've not seen that before. I can't think of one. I mean, we've got, the recent advent of rotating telehandlers, kind of a hybrid between a crane and a telehandler. Is that new? Not particularly. I remember getting awfully excited about the JCB Hydra Dig, but it was just a sexy looking wheeled excavator. Can you think of one? Be interested to see. Apparently, Ken Hatcher, he's feeling pretty. Take a cushion with you, Ken, is my suggestion on that. He's sat in a Kubota and he's feeling the pain. Right, so should we crack on? Because as I say, do have a lot to get through, loads and loads to show you, loads and loads to discuss. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? Do need to say a very quick good morning to Chris Ford, who just said, what has Chris said? He says, good morning, hopefully a better day than yesterday. Was it a bad one? Let us know. Peter McKenna. Peter, I was actually thinking about you this morning. I was watching a film and reading an article, actually. There's an old tram bridge in Preston, your part of the world, which is about to undergo demolition, literally in the next few days, I think. But Peter says, good morning from Preston. Sunshine and heavy showers here. Micro diggers shouldn't be used on slopes. I know why lads turn them over. I've only used them on flat level ground before. Yeah, they are a bit, what's the word? Teetery? That's not a word. I've just invented it, but I know exactly what you mean. Yes, so it is that part of the show, isn't it? I need to tell you an intro. Yes, it is Tuesday, the 20th of August. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, Zoomlion have unveiled a brand new 25-tonner. We're taking time with Sani. So a bit of a Chinese start to the show, and we're going to get in the inside track on the Cat 995 wheel loader, which is a beast, and we're doing monster mining down under. Plus, as I've already flagged up in our after show chat, I'll be asking if true equipment innovation is dead and whether this is it for construction equipment design. Whether, if you look around now and you look at your dumpers and your wheel loaders and your dozers and your excavators and your backhoe loaders, are they going to look any different in 20 years' time? Are we going to see the advent of a completely new type of machine? And before we get to that, it's just me chewing the fat here. Bearing in mind some of the changes that we've had, so remote control machines, autonomous machines, electric machines, hydrogen machines coming. Surely all of those are an opportunity to say, okay, let's take a step back. Do we really need these to look the way they always have? And as far as I can think, the only change really has been with some of the autonomous and remote control machines where they've taken the cab off. They still look exactly the same as they have for 20, 30, 40 years. That's what we're going to get into after the show. I've had some comments here. What have we got? There you are, the old tram bridge, 5 minutes from his house, he says. And Chris Ford says, I think yesterday everyone had me on speed dial and no signal is sure to boil my piss and miss your show. Yes, everyone, unless you're phoning to pay him money, stop phoning Chris Ford while he's watching the show, would you? Thank you. Yes, it is time for the mystery machine. So let me take Chris away for just a moment and play the right animation, which is this one. Yeah, I picked up the victory yesterday, and I'm feeling quietly confident about the mystery machine today. This is your first glimpse. Anybody got any clues on that? Obviously, I'm always, as always, rather, looking for both make and machine. If you've got anything you would like to offer on that, I'd love to hear from you. It's a big brand, tell you that much. Might be an unfamiliar type of machine, or not an unfamiliar type of machine, but an unfamiliar machine. We shall see. Steve Williamson says, I think suction excavators will be more of a thing. We're talking equipment design here. But even there, so bearing in mind what a suction excavator doesn't look overly dissimilar, does it? I know you've got the suction tanks and stuff like that, but overly, doesn't really look that much different, does it? What do you do with it once boiled? Cooks his chips in it. Or something. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Jim Turner's here as well. We can start the party, people. Jim Turner's just pitched up. And Chris Ford reckons that our mystery machine could be a case 1150D. It is not one of those, but it's a good start. Now, while you're there's Jim Turner coming up with a Komatsu face shovel. It's not one of those either. And Chris Ford, apparently, what do you do once it's boiled? Share it about. I'm glad there's 120 odd miles between us right about now. Right, I'm going to take that away because it is also Excavator World Cup. We're getting very close to the end of the first round of this. So I'll play this and I'll tell you who the next match is. Just before I show you that, I'm going to tell you that Gary Muirhead reckons that our mystery machine, which looks like that, could be the JCB 71-1 high-vis dumper. It's not one of those. Let me show you a bit more if that helps. There you are. I think that probably dispels any idea that it might be a dumper. Ken Hatcher, suction excavating is very noisy, though, he says. True dat, as they say on the other side of the pond. Cat roller, it's not a cat roller either. So yes, our World Cup of Excavators. We've got 3 matches left in the first round, and today's, I reckon this one really could go either way. I've got a funny feeling I know which way it's going to go, but I'll show you. Today's match pits Bobcat, big brand, against Case, big brand. I guess this one is going to be down largely to personal preference, I would guess. So usual rules apply. You've got 100, maybe £150,000. I don't know. Imaginary money. You're investing in new excavators, one or more, and your choices are rather Bobcat or Case. Which one are you going for? Please type in the chat either Case or Bobcat. We'll do a count up at the end of the show and we will see exactly what it is. See who's going forward to the next round. I can tell you that All Terrain Manx over on Instagram has already said Case. So we've got 1 vote for Case. In fact, we have 3 votes for Case. There's Chris Ford coming in with Case. We've also got Gary Muirhead going with Case. Peter McKenna, however, is going with the Bobcat. So it's currently 3-1 to Case. I have to say, I was kind of expecting it to head in that direction, mainly because obviously Bobcat only go up to a certain size range. So, but we've had another vote for Bobcat. Oh, it's getting tight. Ken Hatter is going for Case. Lou Carney, haven't seen Lou on this part of the show in quite some time. She is going for Case. Mark White is going for Case. Dan Cullen going for Bobcat. Oh, it's a tight one, people. It is a tight one. and Alex Latham. Not sure if I mentioned Alex, but he is going for Bobcat as well. I really will have to do a count up on these while we're doing something else. So let me take that away because we do need to crack on. That's the mystery machine that you are working with. I can tell you so far we've had another couple of guesses here. Dan Cullen reckons it could be a Case 951 shovel. It's not. A Cat D3 K2 says Peter McKenna. It's not one of those. It's not the Dresster. Ken and Gary both coming up with the Dresster. It's not one of those. Lou Carney says, I've been lurking in the background. I thought I sensed a presence over here somewhere. You can't even see where I'm waving. I was saying I sensed a presence over here. My picture was too small. Right, people, I'm going to crack on and I'm going to be right back with something new and exciting all the way from China. Garvin over on Instagram is obviously mostly diggers. He is sitting on the fence on our head-to-head of excavators. He is going for Bob Case. That doesn't help. That doesn't help one bit. I do need to do some counting in just a moment. I'm going to throw this up very quickly because I'm going to show you a little bit more. Peter McKenna going for the John Deere 450K. It's not one of those. Gary Muirhead is going for the Komatsu D41P. It's not one of those. Let me show you a smidge more. There you are. I mean, I think everybody's already figured out what type of machine it is. What I need is a make and a model, if you would be so kind. While you're figuring that out, I've got something just very quickly. Shantway SD22. It's not a Shantway, and it's not. I'll get to the show in a minute. It's not a Komatsu D45S either, nor is it a Komatsu D65PX. I'll tell you now, it is not a Komatsu of any shape, size, or form. Right, so somebody just mentioned Shantway. Think China, because we've got a couple of Chinese films today. Those fine folks at Zoomlion have got a brand new 25-tonner added to their equipment lineup, and it looks like this.
ZE245G is a new generation 25-ton excavator designed for medium to large-scale earth moving and loading, urban construction, irrigation, and water conservancy construction. It focuses on efficient operation and low fuel consumption. The machine incorporates the design concept of G-Series products, featuring a mature large displacement main pump and customized engine. It also utilizes Zoomlion's independently developed ECOT control system and other advanced technologies, resulting in efficient fuel savings and reduced operating costs. The ZE245G is equipped with a customized Cummins QS-B7 high-pressure common rail engine, which boasts a rated power of 160 kilowatts and impressive performance. It uses advanced high-pressure common rail electric injection technology to precisely control fuel injection in milliseconds, ensuring complete combustion and maximizing fuel efficiency. The new generation of electric control main pump has an increased displacement with separate front and rear pump flow control. This allows the machine to act faster and supply flow according to demand. The ECOT engine pump valve integrated working condition self-optimization control system, independently developed by Zoomlion, is based on high-sensitivity pilot sensing technology. Through 4 key technologies: load analysis, load matching, flow analysis, and torque matching, it achieves a transition from mechanical system transmission to electrical signal transmission, making the excavator more intelligent. It can accurately control and allocate flow according to load changes, significantly reducing response time and fuel consumption while improving efficiency and compound action smoothness. Building on the luxury-sized design of the G-Series, the ZE245G features a lengthened and widened 33-ton platform that enhances its ruggedness and durability. Enlarged fuel tank capacity greatly improves work endurance. The ZE245G is equipped with a brand new sealed and noise-reducing cab, which features large space, strong pressurized dust-proof performance, and obvious noise reduction effects. The cab interior and man-machine engineering have been fully upgraded, featuring a standard suspension seat, one-button engine start-stop function, high-definition touchscreen, multifunctional integrated panel, new CAN bus air conditioner for faster cooling and temperature self-regulation. The lower structure has been enhanced and the track roller increased to 9, making it more suitable for heavy load conditions. The increased size of the swing bearing results in a larger slewing moment and faster slewing speed during slope operations. The large area covering parts are used, and after opening, the operator can stand on the ground for daily maintenance. Each filter element is easily accessible and simple to maintain. For earthwork operations, the ZE245G comes standard with a 1.4 cubic meter reinforced bucket that has been professionally reinforced for higher loading efficiency. An optional wear-resistant rock bucket with a capacity of 1.2 cubic meters can be equipped to handle stonework. Compared with the previous generation model, ZE245G's comprehensive work efficiency is improved by 10%. Zoomlion ZE245G, the choice of intelligent construction efficiency, an economic, low-consumption flagship product. Zoomlion ZE245G.
I have a funny feeling that people are just watching the Mystery Machine now. All the comments coming through while poor old Zoomlion were doing their level best to unveil their new machine. I will answer a question from Gary Muirhead first and foremost. Is there a dealer in the UK? There is a dealer in the UK for Zoomlion's access equipment. I can't remember if we've discussed this live on air or whether this is something I've discussed off air. If you remember rightly, a few years ago, I think at one of the Vertical Days events, XCMG first dipped their toe into the UK market with access equipment, and then lo and behold, 12 months later, they popped up at Plantworks, fully formed with excavators and wheel loaders and everything else. I get the impression that Zoomlion are doing the same thing. Send the access equipment in, get a feel for the market, and then send in the heavy equipment afterwards. So thank you very much indeed for the question. Peter McKenna says, nice new machine. Looks the part, love Zoomlion's colour scheme. So do I. So do I. Makes a very, very nice change now. We've had an absolute deluge of guesses on our mystery machine. Let me go back to here. What do we got? Peter McKenna is going for a Shantway SD22. It is not. Dan Cullen going for the Komatsu D45S. Nope. Not a Komatsu D65 PX either. Not a Lugong B160C. Not a Euclid. Not a Lugong. Not a Dresser. Not a Fuke. Is it a Fuke? Fuke? Fuki? Whatever. It is not a Mack motor. It is not a Rhino. It is not a Shinaway. It is not a Shandong. It is not a Zoomlion. It is not a Shantway. It is not a Shandong again. It's not Shantway. It's not Shandong. Not one of those. Not one of those. Jonathan Dura says Zoomlion doesn't look a bad excavator. Totally agree. I will come back to the Chinese and their impact on the construction equipment market after the show, but we'll come back to that. It's not a Shandong 822D either. I can tell you so far, the nearest by a country mile is our friend Gary Muirhead, who reckons it's one of those. It's not. It is not one of those. But man alive, you're close. Man alive, you're close. Ken Hatcher saying JCB will be trying to tax Zoomlion. It's not fair. Could well be. Could well be. I mean, if I were Zoomlion, frankly, I would be sitting somewhere in Europe waiting for all of that to sort itself out before I made a decision on whether or not to come in. I've seen their machines. They are the right quality. They are Lugong, Sany, XCMG quality. They are right up there. But they're not here yet. Steve Williamson is going for the TY420 from XCMG. It is not, but you too are close. I'll leave you to ponder that because we're going to be right back after this with something big.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I can tell you we've had a guess over from our friend All Terrain Manx over on Instagram. Reckons it could be a Mitsubishi Dozer. It's not. But I can tell you. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I can see the order they came in. So I can tell you that two people have got the right answer. Gary Muirhead got the right answer, having already got very, very close. But I can tell you, pipped to the post. Dan Cullen. Dan Cullen got it right. So Dan Cullen restores his lead. Well, he already had a lead anyway. So Dan Cullen, you've got the right answer. Anybody saying the 420 from XMG or the 320 or the 260? None of those. It was the 160. And just to prove it, let me show it to you. There we are in all its glory. That is the XCMG TY 160 Dozer. Well done, Mr. Cullen. Well done, Mr. Cullen. Chris Ford says game over, but at least he's got some points on the board this time around. Gary Muirhead, well done, Dan. He says through gritted teeth, having led him down the right path. And Peter McKenna is quietly sobbing into his tea or coffee or I don't know. I don't know what people drink in Preston. Hard liquor if I were them. Yes, Caterpillar. Mine Expo coming up. Concentrating on all things large at the moment. Don't come much larger. I've got beer on the mind. They don't come much larger than the Cat 995 wheel loader. Check this baby out.
What stands out to me with the 995 loader is the features in the cab, and the overall performance of it is impressive to me. They've really gone out of their way to make it more operator friendly with the touch screen, the VIM screen, the seating, the ergonomics of the controls. I think it's a lot better than the old cab style.
The biggest thing about comfort in the cab I notice is how spacious the cab is. There's a lot more leg room. They moved the HVAC unit from behind the seat to around the side of the cab, which allowed the operator seat to be able to move back further for your taller operators. You have a nice box behind the seat to store your lunchbox so it's not bouncing around the cab. It has an improved operator trainer seat. The overall comfort of the cab is just by far greater than the previous cab. With this new cab, the visibility is much greater. The windshield, instead of cutting off right at the top, right up here above your head, the glass now continues all the way to the top of the cab so you can see a full view of your bucket while you're loading the trucks. And the side view with the windows down lower on the sides of the machine are a lot better for view outside the sides of the cab.
There's definitely less noise and vibration in the 995. It's very quiet, very comfortable, no vibrations at all.
This is definitely a step above the older machines that had the front pump drives because you always felt vibration from that pump drive in front of the cab, the drive line running underneath the cab. All that's been eliminated in this. Your pumps are sitting behind the cab, so you don't have those rotational devices traveling underneath the cab to reduce that noise and vibration. The new EH upgraded steering is by far a huge improvement over the Pilot steering. It's super sensitive also, but on the other hand, it's super light. And the difference with this one is more than anything, wherever that stick steer stays, it stays in conjunction with wherever the machine is angled. Where the old stick steer, you were constantly have to counter steer back. It took a lot more force to steer the machine. So over time, a long 10 hours, 12-hour shift, the operators are gonna by far be less fatigued at the end of the shift because it is a lot easier to maneuver. The onboard technologies in this machine, I believe, are going to be a step above. They're going to be extremely helpful for the inexperienced or the new operators coming in or operators that want to improve. The auto dig features let you focus on where you're going next and not having to be so concerned about whether I'm setting my tires, lifting the tires, whether I'm stalled out in the face, because these auto dig features are doing all those functions for you. Lift stall prevention is a really good feature. A lot of operators struggle when they're in a hard dig. The machine stalls out, you can't lift, you can't go forward anymore, you can't rack. So what the lift stall prevention does is it backs off on your rim pole, allows that machine to disengage from the face briefly, allows you to break out and continue up through the face, continuing with your dig cycle. Tire set is another feature on the machine in the auto dig features. Whenever you enter the pile, you normally would have to enter the pile, pull up on your hoist control just enough to set your tires or put weight on the tires so you don't spin. With the auto tire set feature, the operator no longer has to worry about that.
Tire slip prevention helps operator like me with not as much experience in that aspect. When you're digging into the muck, it doesn't slip your tires. It backs it off a little bit and keeps you from having to worry about that problem.
Before, we used to have to go and dial down the rim pull setting. Now you really don't have to, because the tire slip prevention is taking care of all these features behind the scenes. And then we also have operator coaching. It monitors up to 23 different parameters. So at any time, if you are doing something incorrectly, that blue star in the corner of your screen is going to turn white. You hit that, it'll bring up your performance summary. It'll show you what that operator is doing, and it'll also play a short video to show you the wrong thing he's doing and let the operator know that he could be doing these functions different and better to make his performance improve. So I think for the new operators coming in, or the inexperienced operator, is going to be a great coaching feature on the machine. So adapting to these changes, don't just form an opinion right up front. Go ahead and give yourself some time, take it slow. All these features working in the background all collaborate together, and they help with machine performance, operator performance, and your fuel efficiency.
The chat is absolutely on fire today. Thank you very much indeed for all of that. I'm going to say a very quick good morning before I get into the chat to somebody called LaBaker 250 over on Instagram, all the way, get this, from Rwanda. He's an excavator operator from Rwanda. I think, my friend, you are our first, well, the first viewer that's made himself known anyway, from Rwanda. Yeah. And apologies for the British government, and I'm very, very glad that we didn't send you our migrants. Our problem, not yours. Yes, so going back to Peter McKenna, I was asking what those fine folks in Preston drink. Apparently they drink Skull Crusher coffee and Holy, which is an energy drink. So I would imagine that Peter McKenna mid-morning is probably buzzing his tits off right about now. Now, I'm strangely torn by his next comment, because while I'd like to serve the audience, if you are into holy energy drinks and you'd like to get them a little bit cheaper, I have the ability to do that. On the other hand, not overly keen on giving a leg up to other influencer types, particularly when I've heard rumors, but I'm going to do it anyway. A holy energy drink, £5 off your first order at the moment. Then for future orders, 10% off with the code WelderFabber. Yeah. So going back to Zoomlion, Jonathan Duras, there's two people on the same kind of kick here. Zoomlion seem great, but the cranes seem to have a left foot, if you know what I mean, or they just attract shit operators, he says. And I think Chris Ford said much the same thing. Worldex's yard full of Zoomlion cranes in various states of decay. Yes, the crane graveyard, nothing quite like it. Now let's have a look. We've got lots of comments, I think, on the Caterpillar. 995, nice cab to be sat in all day. Yeah, Ken Hatcher says that's big. Dan Cullen, now that's a beast. I totally agree. Bigger cab, looks slightly small compared to the machine. How big do you need a cab? There was plenty of room for two people in there. Steve Williamson says joystick steering is fantastic on tracks or wheels. I love it. I found it really hard. I had to go on I think it was probably a 966 or something like that. Early doors of stick steer, and I found it really difficult. I'm not from the joystick generation, and I kind of felt it's a bit like when you see these self-driving Teslas. My inclination is to grab the wheel, and there was no wheel to grab. Freaked me out a little bit. Kubota need to look at that cab, the Caterpillar cab. I think that would look a little bit out of a place on a Kubota, but yeah, there we are. Peter McKenna says, I've got a mate that operates a new one in a quarry over in the States. He reckons they are way more comfortable than the old ones. this is another point, which is, leading into our after-show discussion. Lots of concentration on removing or reducing emissions. Lots of concentration on making machines safer and more productive. And yet the core design of machines doesn't seem to be changing much. I'll come to that. Dan Cullen says, never operated joystick steer. Ken Hatcher, you not happy with the cab in your new Kubota? No, he is not. Dan says, I'd love to try the joystick steer. Great point. Don't judge anything until you spent time on them. Cat got it about right. No great surprise there. Where's his welcome confetti, Mark? Yes, I could do some welcome confetti. Not sure if he'll see it over on Instagram. We'll worry about that. Welcome, Rwandan guy. Yes, welcome, Rwandan guy. That's what we will call him. You wouldn't want it rolling over yourself still in the cab. It looks nice all the same. Strong coffee is not good for the mental health, Peter, says Dr. Steve Williamson. Wonder why Zoomlion not here in the UK. As I say, they are, but only in the access side of things, and maybe they will come. Steve, thank you for that. That's something of a relief to me. I thought I was just being a bit of a tit, no more than usual, but apparently it does take some time to learn stick steer. I've known Baz for about 30 years. He's a great father who wants to provide for his family. Isn't that what we all do, no matter how we get there? Baz? Who's Baz? Where did that come from? Or was Baz the guy over in the States on the Cat 995? Or have I missed a comment? I'm not entirely sure. Is Baz welder fabber? I don't know. If that's the case, fine. Yes, as I say, I had a bit of negative. It's nothing to do with me. I don't care. It exists in a completely separate universe to me, so I don't care. Just saying. Ken, at least you have a cab on the Kubota K008-5. I don't have one. Steve, coffee is known to lift the spirits when drunk in moderation. Yes. And apparently, yes, Baz is welder fabber. Don't know. And, with the greatest respect to everybody, don't care. Parallel universe happens over there. I do my thing and they kind of do theirs. I can tell you that the current score in our Excavator World Cup competition is Case 7 votes and Bobcat 4. As it stands at the moment, it looks like Case are going through. Bobcat may be going home empty-handed, but I'll come back to that because we do still have some more stuff to show you. What do we have to show you? I think we're going Chinese again. Yes, we are. I'll be back in a second. Dan Cullen, I agree with Peter. Coffee gives me a fantastic lift. I haven't had a cup of coffee for, where are we, Tuesday? 8 days. 8 days I am away from coffee. And I can tell you, weighed myself this morning since the diet started, which was Sunday before last. £6 off. £6 off. Hence the slightly tighter fitting t-shirt today. Feeling a little less bloated. So there you are. Day 2 of the no bread diet. Got the feeling it's not going to last. I'm on the blood sugar diet, which means I've taken basically carbs out. I've had no rice, no pasta, no bread, and no potatoes at all for 6 days. Yeah. No, not 6 days. 8 days. 8 days. There you are. Right, guys, back to the grindstone. Catch you all on WhatsApp. Yeah, okay, Peter. Have a good day, my friend. Red Bull gives me a good lift. Doesn't mean it's good for you. Yeah, well, no. I mean, me and Red Bull do not get on at all. And a fag gives me a good lift too. See, there you were banging on about the effect of coffee on your mental health. You are aware that cigarettes are quite bad for you, right, Steve? Quite bad for you. Put that fag down. Behave yourself. Yes, we've already had Chinese excavators from the fine folks at Zoomlion. And the equally fine folks of Sani are no mugs when it comes to excavators either. Sanny. People, Sanny. People, Sanny, Sanny people. There you go. Let's have a look. Steve Williamson, I've already told him off about smoking. He says, yeah, I know. Any caffeine, if you're struggling with mental health, is the worst thing you can drink. Not struggling with my mental health. The only reason I'm off coffee is I cannot, and I have tried for about 30 years, I cannot take coffee without sugar. And given that sugar is strictly forbidden, for 'tis poison for me, I've had to forego the coffee. So I'm drinking lots and lots of tea, including that one that I've just taken down. Very nice it was too. Chris Ford says, no coffee diet, won't go there, don't drink tea. Out of curiosity, what do you eat on type 2 diet? I'm going to fail badly. Very, very simple. Well, I say very simple. I would recommend you remember that Dr. Mosley that went missing, where was he? Tenerife, Greece? I can't remember. He went missing, was currently found dead. He wrote a book called the Blood Sugar Diet and the 800 Diet. That's kind of what I'm following. By and large, for me, I've cut out sugar, which is why the coffee is gone. But it's basically doing away with white carbs. So pasta, potatoes, bread, rice, gone. Which, bearing in mind, I live on all of those things and thoroughly enjoy all of them, in all their forms. Love a sarnie, love a pizza, all gone. And it just strips the weight off. I'm not doing it for the weight. I'm doing it for the blood sugar. And this, unless you're actually testing your blood sugar, this will probably mean very little to you. But a good score on your blood sugar is somewhere between 4 and 7. When I started on the blood sugar diet this time around, I was at 9.5. Within 4 days, I was at 7.2. And this morning, back in range. So yeah, it makes a big difference, really does. Dan Cullen, I'm in talks with Sani on a day in their test quarry. Fantastic stuff. I bet you're looking forward to that. Nice machines, just don't last very long. Paintwork not great and rusts easily, says Steve. It's that Chinese thing again, isn't it? It seems to be that the first ones that make landfall here, but they will get better. That excavators like me when doing sports day all those years ago. What the slow moving. I know the feeling. Only too well. That's why I played in midfield when I played football. I just sprayed passes about and did my level best not to sweat. We've just had somebody. I'm not going to try. I'll give it a go. Gyosidin Ravshano says, Shalom. From, get this, we've already had somebody from Rwanda. Our friend is in Uzbekistan. I'm not even sure I could find Uzbekistan on a map, but my friend, welcome. Shalom back to you. Great to have you here. Really appreciate your company. Let's have, I could do all that, but it means a big shopping bill for veg and meat. To be perfectly honest, I mean, and this is not a deliberate thing, but most of what I'm eating now is not meat. I kind of blow hot and cold on meat anyway, to be perfectly honest. Don't like pork. Not particularly bothered by beef. Lamb, kind of need to be in the mood. So I end up eating a lot of chicken. So yesterday's dinner, or last night's dinner. Oh, excuse me. Last night's dinner, yeah, it's curing my blood sugar, but it's giving me hay fever. Last night's dinner was actually tofu, which I don't have a major issue with. It's fine, and it had a sauce with it. So yeah, Dan Cullen, haven't eaten meat in years now. Yeah, as I say, I mean, back in the day, when would that have been? 2009 to about 2014, didn't eat meat for 5 years, and then fell off the wagon. But I find it very, very easy to go back to it. So yes, there you are. Okay, so should we crack on? I think we probably should. I think this is going to be our last film of the day, and it is, well, it's quite a big mine. Have a look.
St. Ives mine is widespread. This isn't a gold mine, this is a mineral field. One of the best things I think that people like about St. Ives is obviously the team interactions. Everyone who works here has a good set of values. We talk about them every day. We talk about safety every day, our vital behaviours. Very important that we set a very good culture, both within the operation itself and any new people coming in as well must embrace those values. It's all about the people. And in my experience, the people is what makes the workplace. We're building a brand new facility, St. Ives Village, that'll house about 600 people. St. Ives offers some fantastic opportunities because we are so unique in what we do. We've got a very long mine life, we've got a very large processing plant, paste plants underground, we've got open pits. There are so many moving parts on this operation, which makes it so exciting.
It's quite the place, isn't it? Just goes to show, when they put a mine into a location, and you know, a lot of the mines in Australia tend to be in remote locations, not just establishing a mine, they establish a town to go with it. Same as it was back in the Wild West. We have, there's gold in them there hills. If we're going to mine it, we need a town, complete with a whorehouse, generally. I don't know if that's the case there, but you know the idea. That's in Cornwall, St. Ives. It is in Cornwall. It's also in Australia, as it turns out. Jim Turner says, I'm a meat lover, beef and pork mainly, and if fish, tuna steaks, octopus or squid. Octopus. Oh, now you're talking. Bit of grilled octopus. I'm all about that. One thing I would say is there is only one fish that I don't eat. That is shark. If I lived somewhere where fish were more readily available, you know, if I was in Italy or Spain or somewhere like that, I would basically go entirely pescatarian. I just eat fish and never eat meat again. Be more than happy with that. The one I don't eat is shark, and we have a deal. Me and sharks. I don't know whether they're aware of their end of the deal, but I've decided I won't eat them in the vain hope that they will look at me and say, "Oh yeah, he's a good fella. We won't eat him." We are sending a cow to slaughter soon, so I'll be saving on the meat bill. Listen, this is one of the areas where I have enormous admiration for anybody that's in the farming business. I'm an animal. I've no issue with eating beef and chicken and pork, and I really don't. But the idea of sending an animal to slaughter, an animal that you've seen grow up, not in my capability. And I realise how ridiculously stupid that is, you know, and how hypocritical the fact that I will eat it. But it's as much the same as fishing. I love fish, love all kinds of fish, but I've never, well, no, once. I've only ever caught and killed and eaten a fish once in my entire life. And I've been fishing for 50 plus years. Once I've done that. So yeah, I'm a peculiar creature. What can I tell you? So I can tell you, the latest round of our Excavator World Cup pitted Bobcat against Case, but which brand came out on top? Well, we put it to the public vote, and I can tell you that the winner is Case. Case goes forward to the second round, while Bobcat sadly leaves empty-handed. Tomorrow's match is the penultimate contest in the first round of the Excavator World Cup, and it will see Sani, who we've already featured today, going head-to-head with Atlas. So make sure you tune in and take part. I'm going to roll the end of the show in just a moment, because I've got this thing that I want to get off my chest about whether machine design has kind of peaked or plateaued. So I'll be right back after a smidgen of this. I'm going to try and get through this without too many mistakes today. When was the last time you saw a new machine and thought, well, I've never seen one of those before? I don't mean a new manufacturer entering an established market or an existing manufacturer diversifying into a new product area. I mean a totally new type of machine. Can you think of one? Because I can't. Industrial design, once a frontier of bold innovation and transformative breakthroughs, now seems to have entered an era of stasis. A closer look at the heavy machinery sectors, excavators, dozers, wheel loaders, and other equipment reveals a landscape where actual design changes have been incremental and minimal, and where the most significant advances are occurring not in the machinery itself, but in the technology that controls it. So, has industrial design peaked? To understand where we stand today, let's reflect on the golden age of industrial design. In the mid to late 20th century, we witnessed rapid advancements across various sectors. From the introduction of hydraulic systems that revolutionized excavators and dozers to the development of more efficient and more powerful engines, each decade brought substantial improvements in the performance, efficiency, and capabilities of heavy machinery. These innovations weren't just incremental, they were revolutionary. They redefined what was possible on construction sites, in quarries, in mines, and across a multitude of other industrial applications. Engineers and designers pushed boundaries, creating machines that could lift heavier loads, operate in more challenging environments, and perform tasks with unprecedented precision. However, as we've moved into the 21st century, the pace of true design innovation began to slow. One of the primary reasons for this slowdown is the increasing stringency. One of the primary reasons for this slowdown is the increasing stringency of emissions regulations. Environmental concerns, particularly the need to reduce carbon footprints and minimize the release of harmful pollutants, have rightly become a global priority. Governments and regulatory bodies around the world have imposed stringent standards on engine emissions, which has forced manufacturers to focus heavily on compliance. While these regulations are vital for protecting our environment, they've also swallowed up research and development budgets. As a result, it's inadvertently stifled the kind of bold innovation that once characterized industrial design. Instead of developing entirely new forms of machinery, manufacturers have been compelled to invest significant resources into modifying existing engines and exhaust systems purely to meet emission standards. This shift in focus has diverted attention away from exploring groundbreaking design concepts or reimagining the machines themselves. As a result, many machines in the sector have remained largely unchanged for decades. Take, for example, the excavator. Well, while there have been significant improvements in efficiency, power, and safety, the basic design and operational principle of excavators has remained the same for years. The physical appearance and core functionality of these machines are often indistinguishable from their counterparts from 20 or 30 years ago. The same could be said for dozers, wheel loaders, backhoe loaders, and other heavy machinery as well. This stagnation is not due to a lack of creativity or ambition among designers and engineers. It reflects the constraints imposed by a combination of regulatory pressures and market demands. Manufacturers are understandably reluctant to invest in radical new designs that may require extensive testing and certification, particularly when they are already facing significant costs to comply with emissions regulations. However, this is not to say there has been no innovation in the industrial sector. On the contrary, we are witnessing a significant shift towards technological advancements within the sector. The most exciting innovations today are found in the software, automation, and connectivity features integrated into these machines. For instance, the advent of telematic systems has transformed how industrial equipment is monitored, maintained, and managed. Real-time data collection allows operators and fleet managers to track machine performance, optimize fuel efficiency, and predict maintenance needs, reducing downtime and enhancing productivity. Similarly, the development of autonomous and semi-autonomous machines is pushing the boundaries of what's possible on construction sites and in mining operations. These technologies allow machines to perform complex tasks with minimal human intervention, increasing safety and efficiency. Yet, while these technological advancements are impressive, they don't represent a fundamental change in the design of the machines themselves. So, I'll ask again, has industrial design peaked? In terms of the physical design and mechanical innovation of heavy machinery, it's hard to argue against the notion that we've reached a plateau. The focus has shifted away from redesigning the machines themselves to enhancing their capabilities through the use of technology. It's not necessarily a negative development. After all, the integration of advanced technology has brought about significant improvements in safety, efficiency, and productivity. However, it does raise questions about the future of industrial design. Will we see a resurgence of bold, innovative design once emissions regulations are fully integrated into the industry's standard practices? Or will the focus on technological enhancements continue to dominate, leaving the physical design of machinery largely unchanged? The answer may lay in the development of new materials, energy sources, and production methods that could unlock new possibilities for industrial design. For example, the growing interest in electric and hydrogen-powered machines could pave the way for a new era of design innovation as manufacturers explore how to integrate these new technologies into their equipment. But that's not got off to the best start. Thus far, the only significant element of design change on an electric machine is usually the addition of some green or electric blue paintwork. And some of the early hydrogen machines look like they're just hollowed out versions of their diesel counterparts, only with a hump on their back. While it's clear that industrial design in the heavy machinery sector has slowed in recent years, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's peaked permanently. The challenges posed by emissions regulations and the shift towards technological innovation have reshaped the landscape, but they have not eliminated the potential for future breakthroughs. As the industry continues to evolve, we may yet see a new wave of design innovation that once again pushes the boundaries of what is actually possible. Until then, my personal belief is the focus will remain largely on refining and enhancing the machines we already have, making them smarter, safer, and more efficient than ever before. I'll get to the chat in just a moment, but a couple of things that occurred to me, partly while I was reading that, but also while I was writing it as well. I mentioned this earlier, I wonder if this apparent stagnation of design has been made worse by manufacturers from the Far East, specifically China, that seem very adept at adopting, in inverted commas, adopting an existing design rather than creating something new. So maybe an excavator will always look like an excavator. Maybe there is going to be nothing new under the sun. But we have had a fair degree of building upon existing designs, or some might term it copying. That's not driving innovation forward. If you're just reproducing what somebody else has already done with your own badge on it, that's not going to help. And the other thing that occurred to me was this: if you ever go to one of these big international car shows, they always have these outlandish prototypes. They're never going to get built, at least not in that form, but they always use them to showcase some of the things that the manufacturers might be working on in the background. Like these wheels that turn 90 degrees so you can park sideways and stuff like that. Aside from the project, the case Project Tetra wheel loader at Bauma back in, I think it was 2016, I can't think of any examples of that in this sector. Yes, we've had prototypes to prove that a company is playing with hydrogen, for example, but as I said, those tend to be basically hollowed out diesel machines with a hump on their back. I don't remember the last time I went to a Bauma, a ConExpo, an Intermat, a Samota, a Plantworks, a Hillhead. I thought, well, bugger me, I've never seen one of those before. Not once. So that being said, I'm going to move something over on my screen, and I'm going to go over to the chat and see what you're all saying about all of that. Going back to cows. Nothing to do with product innovation, but yes. The missus can't get her head around it either. I'm totally fine with it. Don't mind killing it myself. It's all part of the cycle of life and farming. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I've no qualms about others doing it. Just don't want it as a kind of thing of mine. Jim Taylor says, a sort of reinvention of a theme. Yes, I find that easy, but something totally new is hard, as everything seems to stem from something that came before. And maybe, I've said this about the Victorians and their innovation. Maybe we owe a debt of gratitude to the originators of the original dozer, the original excavator, the original wheel loader, who basically did such a good job the first time around that we don't need to change it. I just find it hard to get my head around how, with all of the changes, with all the innovations in terms of processes that we haven't taken a step back and come up with something new. The prime example, in my belief, is a high reach excavator. Now, an excavator is designed to dig below grade. It digs downwards. We then decided the best way to take down, or one of the best ways to take down a building, is with a high reach machine. So standing it on the ground, reaching up. Who the hell decided that the best way was to take a machine that has been designed to dig downwards and make it dig upwards? Could we not have done something different, better? When you look at a Brock demolition robot. I'm sticking with demolition because it's the bit I know best. Look at a Brock demolition robot. It has no cab. But apart from that, in every other way, it's basically a mini excavator, more or less. There was an opportunity there to say, is that the best way? Is that definitely the best way? One of the most impressive machines I've seen was that Rogue X2 that Bobcat came out with over at Intermat. I've seen it up close and personal, and it looks hugely futuristic. You know, it's remote control, it's electric, and everything else. It's an amazing piece of engineering, and in terms of aesthetics, I think it looks fantastic. But it's kind of a compact loader without a cab on it. It's not gone from there to there. It's gone from there to just over there a little bit. It's good, good one. How come they never made new designs on machines? Yeah. And think about this. You know, this is moving closer to where you guys operate rather than, you know, my love of all things demolition related. I remember it would have been probably the early 1990s when I think Caterpillar kind of coined the term first off. Up until then, excavators dug. That's what they did. They basically dug holes. And then obviously we had the advent of attachments and quick couplers and all of the things that went with it. And Caterpillar said that, but basically said that, you know, your excavator is no longer just a digger. It is now a dedicated tool carrier. Having made the leap from doing a single task to doing a multitude of tasks, was that not an opportunity to say, well, okay, if we're not going to purely dig, is the boom dipper arrangement really the way to go? You know, that was designed to do that, but we're now doing a bit of that and a bit of this and a bit of this. Is that really the best way to have come at it? Steve says there's been a slight design looks changed, but could you change the way we dig? And can that really change? Dumpers can't really change that either. I think there is more done on attachments. People thinking, wow, I've never seen that attachment before. Yeah, but just that echoes the bit I was saying. If you landed from Venus sometime around the early 1990s. And said, okay, well, apparently, in order to succeed in the construction equipment business, I don't know why anybody from Venus is doing this, but I need to make my way in the construction equipment business. Apparently, this tool carrier idea is quite a big deal. What should that look like? Would it necessarily look like it does now? Another example. This is one I come back to a lot. We have got a lot of offshore oil rigs to be decommissioned, demolished over the coming years. Those rigs are the size and shape of nothing that demolition contractors have ever seen before. They're on huge legs, so they're very, very tall. They're top heavy, so you know you've got narrow at the bottom, huge bloody thing at the top. And we're proposing to do that. I guess sometimes they blast the legs off so you can get at the top part, the top portion. But we're proposing to do that with traditional excavators, traditional shears, bearing in mind the number of those we've got to do, bearing in mind the amount of money sloshing about in the offshore decommissioning sphere. Could we not have come up with something better? One that occurred to me was, you know, they've already built these, I can't even think what you'd call them, but basically areas of dock. So these things are brought onto land. As I say, sometimes the legs are blown off, so they're sat there. Could we not have put like an overhead crane, like a gantry crane over the top with suspended munchers? Take man out of the way, you know, have him relocated somewhere else and just sit there and do his Game Boy thing. I don't know if you do that with a Game Boy, but basically have somebody taken right out of the way, but take them down from the top, machines way out of the way. The only machine to break the mold was Priestman with their VC range, which got rid of the rear counterweight. Pity it wasn't improved upon. Yeah, absolute revolution. But again, when was that Priestman? That would have been, what, 50s? 50s, 60s, maybe? Vegan, Stone Age word for someone who can't hunt. Well said. Chris Ford says the Russians seem to have perfected the job of reducing high-rise buildings to ground level. Not exactly population friendly, though. No, No, I really do hope that somebody has already set aside a particularly warm part of hell for Mr. Putin. A machine should be a power platform to mount anything on that makes life easier. They're damned expensive things, and it helps if it can do more than one, a lot more than one thing. Yeah. So again, would you come at it from that point of view? Bearing in mind that you want your machine, particularly in some applications, you want your machine to do more than one task. So would the current design of an excavator, those are slightly different, I think, but an excavator particularly, would you necessarily come at the problem from there? One of the things that we've seen a couple of, I think Hitachi have got one, there is a twin boom excavator that they've designed specifically for clearing up after earthquakes, which obviously hit Japan on a fairly regular basis. And they've got, basically, the basic idea is they have one boom with a grab or something like that that holds on to whatever needs to be cut, and the other one has got a shear or a grapple, and that does the cutting. So I can kind of see that. It looks weird, and it must be like doing that thing to operate, but I can kind of see that. But when was the last time we saw somebody coming up with something completely out of the blue? JCB made the backhoe loader with removable backhoe and 3-point linkage, making it a digger and a tractor. Yeah, but when was that? That was the 40s, wasn't it? Yeah, immediately. Well, I think the war was still going on, possibly. Chris says the Priestman range was was the 80s. Oh, right, okay. I was doing them a disservice. I've got a 2B hiding in the yard somewhere, says Chris Ford. And fair play, Chris, says Jim Turner. Yeah, there's my thoughts. I rather wish that our friend Gary Major, who is obviously an industrial designer, I rather wish he'd been over on LinkedIn today. Maybe he will see my version of that over on the show, over on that platform a bit later in the day, because I have turned it into an article. Just saying, there is a machine with two booms. Yeah, you can hold something, use the other boom to cut it. Yeah, there are a couple. I know Hitachi have got one. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, there are. But again, very, very specific. But there's the point. That is kind of my point writ large. The Japanese have earthquakes, so they have developed a machine that can both hold and cut. So two booms, two dippers, two attachments simultaneously to meet a specific demand. We have this influx that is beginning, but it's going to gain pace. We have an influx of decommissioned, disused offshore oil and gas rigs that will be coming ashore that need to be chopped up into tiny pieces. Excavated with a shear? Is that the best way? Maybe it is. Listen, I've never designed a machine in my life. In all likelihood, I never will. I'll leave that to somebody like Jim Turner. But we've got this very, very specific application. As I say, plenty of money sloshing around to fund it. It would have been nice to have thought that, I don't know, maybe a Caterpillar, maybe a Liebherr, or more specifically, maybe a Kokurik or maybe a Larini would look at that and go, yeah, there's a better way than that. There's a better way than that. Jim Turner says, probably the 60s for the 2B. Chris Ford says, absolutely on the right money. Registration 1969. It's in the queue for restoration. Excavator with the cab in the middle, so the bucket is in front rather than off to the side. That would be different. Funnily enough, the first time I saw the Dresden dozer, which was at ConExpo 2016, maybe. And they did basically that with a dozer. They put rather than having the operator off to one side, they've got him bang in the middle, so you can see both edges of the blade. And even though aesthetically, until you're in it, you can't really tell. But when you actually get in the cab, it's like, this just makes perfect bloody sense. It does feel like somebody took a big step back and went, we could do that better. I wonder, and as I say, I said it in the article, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. the amount of money that manufacturers, JCB, Caterpillar, Liebherr, Komatsu, Hitachi, and everyone else have to spend is limited. It's usually a percentage or a proportion of their annual turnover that they dedicate to research and development and pushing the envelope. But I can't even remember when it began, but they've had to hit, let me think, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, and now they're having to electrify or hydrogenize all of their equipment. So I would imagine that 99.9% of their budget is over here, and there's some poor designer thinking, I could do this better, but I've got no money for it. I wonder if that's the case. See the Chameleon for tunneling 25-meter clamshell, says Dan Cullen. Cab slides forward so you can view down the hole you're clearing. Tunneling is a bit off to one side for me. A Ponzi tree harvester has the boom coming down each side of the cab, so the driver is looking straight onto the attachment. I like the idea of that. Can you imagine how many cabs that would get ripped off if that happens? It's a 360 with a straight extending arm. M. O'Brien was the first to have one in the UK. I may go and have a look at that. So there we are. That's another show done and dusted, in the can, to be tucked away for all eternity. I'll be back here again tomorrow for yet more of the same. I trust that you will take the time to join me. I hope that it will be the case. If not, I'll see you soon. But if you are going to be here, I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoyed your company as always, people. Enjoyed your input, and well done to Dan Cullen for claiming the victory on the Mystery Machine. Looks like he might just win this month. Still time to catch him up, but as he says, have a wonderful day, guys, and stay safe. Yes, do as Dan says. I think that's a good idea.